Hey guys, it's God Bars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 208th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So obviously in terms of classic status, Kanye West's third album, Graduation, could have been on the channel a lot earlier, if not for the fact I preferred the first two LPs and didn't want to discuss all three albums from the trilogy that close to each other. I may actually have My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy ranked slightly higher on my personal ranking of Kanye's discography, but since that album dropped in 2010, I'm still not completely sure whether I want to do it in a 2000s grouping or one of my 2010s ones. Also, since I discussed The College Dropout and then Late Registration, it's only right that I knock the third and final installment of his college-based series out of the way and then save Dark Fantasy for a later date since it's not going anywhere. Also, I might as well leave the links to both my previous Kanye West reviews in the description since those videos have my extended opinions on some of the stunts and deplorable career moves he's chosen to make over the last handful of years. And I'd prefer not to delve back into those today, since there aren't really any notable updates since the last time I discussed his music. Also, as I mentioned in those earlier uploads, the output Kanye released throughout the 2000s genuinely might as well have been from a different person. And personally, I don't really want to give current Kanye the power of taking away the enjoyment I had for those early albums. Graduation is kind of an interesting case when it comes to where it stands amongst the community, because an amount of people lord it as Ye's magnum opus. But while I'm all for personal taste and preference, I kind of feel like that's one of those takes that kids just say because they saw someone else say it online. It's one thing for it to be your favorite Kanye album, but to say Graduation is a more consistent and high quality experience than College Dropout or Late Registration kind of ignores the giant blunder that is Drunken Hot Girls. I often see people group Barry Bonds in with that song, but while I agree it probably isn't a top tier Kanye track, personally I don't think it misses the mark nearly as much as Drunken Hot Girls, which is one of those insanely rare examples of a song I consistently skip every time I listen to the album. It may even be the only example I can think of, off the top of my head at least. Usually I can just hunker down and try to find an aspect to appreciate when it comes to a song that might seem like a dud in an otherwise enjoyable experience. On occasion, I've had a track that didn't initially click on first listen, but then over time it became one of my favorites, but this is one of those songs I tried and just could not get into. And even when I threw it on recently, hoping to give it a fair shake, I still ended up bailing halfway through. But luckily, that less than impressive moment is easy to forgive, as the highlights Kanye does give us here are some of the most memorable his entire career has to offer. If you're old enough to remember this album being released, you probably recall how Kanye had a pretty playful quote-unquote feud with 50 Cent, where his 2000 album Curtis was pitted against Graduation in a battle to see who would sell more records. I'm sure I don't really have to tell you how that played out, because with smash hits like Stronger and Good Life, Kanye was able to win that battle, barely even reaching into his bag of tricks at all. Don't get me wrong, both of the singles I just mentioned were insanely fun, well-produced, and iconic pop songs, but the real meat of this record is when we get into tracks like Can't Tell Me Nothing, which has like a top 5 Kanye beat of all time for my money. Another moment I've always adored on this album is the closing track Big Brother, which is dedicated to Jay-Z in a very heartwarming and original way. I don't often hear this song mentioned quite as much as other parts of Graduation, but the instrumental has a very grand and final quality that makes it one of my favorite on the entire LP. I wanted to share some lines from my favorite verse in this dedication, specifically the part where Kanye says, "It's the Hard Knock Life Tour, sell out. Picture us in the mall, copying Iceberg and yell out Jigga. Yeah, that's what we would yell out, you know the name, do I gotta spell out or tell about? Jay, and Ye so shy that he won't even step to his idol to say hi." Standing there like a mime and let the chance pass by, back of my mind, he could help change your life. With all these beats I did, at least let him hear it, at least you could brag to your friends back at the gig. But he got me out my mama crib, then helped me get my mama a crib. You also can't forget songs like Flashing Lights, where even outside of the addicting beat, there's still some pretty poignant commentary on fame. Or I Wonder, a song with an absolute god tier sample flip. However, as much of a powerhouse as Kanye is, he still always has a team of talented producers to assist his vision, which in this case included Brian All Day Miller, DJ Toomp, Eric Hudson, Knotts, and Warren Baby Dub Campbell. We also get some pretty notable names for guest appearances, with features from T-Pain, Dwele, Chris Martin of Coldplay, DJ Premier, Mos Def aka Yasin Bey, and Lil Wayne. This one was super tough to narrow down my top 3 favorite songs for, but after about 5 hours of deliberation, I decided to leave out Big Brother since I read lyrics from that song, and instead go with I Wonder, Can't Tell Me Nothing, and Flashing Lights. For honorable mentions, I'm gonna shout out tracks like Good Morning, Champion, Stronger, Everything I Am, The Glory, and Homecoming. Thank you for watching my 208th video. Next up, we're going to discuss another top tier producer, but this is one that I'd argue is even on a tier higher than Kanye in my opinion. So look for that upload, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs are off this dark horse in Kanye's discography. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alrighty then.
Look, the key to my soul is locked in the cage it opens. The framework was made from my own rib cue. What came first, the crack or the crack light, or whichever one the first fiend used to bring back